Hey everybody, this is Emilio with Quick Property Solutions, and today I am not in front of the whiteboard. I am actually going to be doing a screen share with you, and I'm going to be going over which website I use to evaluate properties in Detroit, and it's completely free. This video is a brainchild of a conversation I had with one of my YouTubers yesterday. He signed up to the cash buyers list. We talked on the phone, and honestly, I got about 2 or 3 good video ideas out of the conversation. So again, thank you very much to the YouTube community for signing up to the cash buyers site, and then also for giving me some good ideas. Speaking of which, while we're here, my website is quickpropertysolutions.co. As you can see, there is a sign up form right here on the side, and you can sign up as a rehab or buy and hold investor. So if you're interested in investing in the Metro Detroit area and the city of Detroit as well, sign up to my buyers list. I am a buyer, but I'm also a wholesaler, which means I find a lot of deals and I sell them to investors, whether you're looking to rehab or to buy and hold. Also, if you find me on Facebook, this is our Facebook page, facebook.com Quick Property Solution. This is my Instagram Quick Property Solutions. And then here's my Twitter account. I'm really not on Twitter that much, but it's CashBuyer248. And now, with that being said, let's get started. So this is Redfin. And the cool thing about Redfin is that it's completely free. It doesn't work in every market. So, I do deals in other parts of the country. And unfortunately, Redfin is not in every county in every city. Same thing with Michigan. It's in the Metro Detroit area, but if you go super far north, it's just not there. So you could use websites like Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, and a lot of them, they do the same thing. What you do is you put in an address or you put in an area, and then you look up. It's just different. They provide different data. So what I was trying to explain it to one of my friends was, how you have a microwave and you use your microwave like all the time, uh, and you go to your friend's house and you just want to warm up a plate of food and you don't even know where the add 30-second button is, but they know exactly where it is because you got to look around. But it's two microwaves. They both do the same thing, but the user interface is just different. I personally like the interface of Redfin. It works for what I want to do. So the one of the only issues that I see with Redfin is, I don't know why it does this, but the square footage is always wrong. Like 50%, not always wrong, 50% of the time. So if you have 1,000 square foot house, it'll say it's 2,000. Or if it's 800 square feet, it'll say it's 1,600 square feet. I don't know why Redfin does it. I don't know if they use the basement as part of the living area, but sometimes when I get the data for the house or the details of the house, I do use other websites like Zillow and Trulia and things like that because um, the data sometimes data is different between them. I don't know why it is, but it just is. So let's start off with just a basic zip code. And what's really cool with this is, if you remember my number one rule for investing in Detroit, it's zip code by zip code, block by block, and street by street. So whenever somebody says, "Hey, I got a deal," I always ask, what's the address?" And then I can from the zip code, I can figure out where they are located in the city. And if you haven't seen my other video about where to visit Detroit for the first time, I do talk about that, like things like East Side and West Side. What you could do is you could type in, let's see, here's some hot zip codes. You have 48221. You have 48224. And you could just click on any of these. I'm going to use 48224 as an example. So what happens is, when you type in the zip code, it will place a border around the zip code, and you could even like zoom out to see where it is relative to the city. Matter of fact, I think you could do two zip codes at once. So if I just put in Detroit. Yeah, see, or actually, you know what, you could do two zip codes, let's say 48221. I've never done that before, but yeah, you could do two zip codes at once, and you could kind of see the proximity they are from each other, which I think is kind of cool. So let's zoom in and see why I like using this interface. If you see on the right hand side, You can see all the listings here, and I prefer to see pictures, and then I also prefer to have price. So I'll click it by price, and then what you could do is you could do A to Z. I gotta sign in for price. Let me sign in real quick. So I like to sort it by price. You could start with the highest price first, so you can see what's coming across. And then what's really important to me, I always go here's the filters. So as you can see, here's the green section here, and then that's what is currently listed. So one of the important fields that you need to know is what is the house selling for? What are those houses selling for in the area? So you got to click on solds. And I literally just turn off. Sometimes I try to check to see what's for sale, just to see what's going on in the market. But what's really important is the sold comparables. And then on the right here, you could pick your duration. So you could see what's sold in the last week. You could see what's sold in the last month. And you can see what's sold in the last 3 months. Your standard comparable. So the reason why we were talking about this was because the BRRRR method. So a lot of investors do the BRRRR method. So they buy, they rehab it, they rent it, and then they refinance. Well, the issue is that you have to make sure of two things. Your lender, will they lend in Detroit? And then you have to find out their terms. So is there a minimum? What's their LTV? Because what's going to happen is that it's not uncommon to find a tenant occupied property for $35,000, $40,000. Like that's not uncommon here, and it's rented at $750. Or it's a Section 8, and you could buy a Section 8 tenant occupied property for $45,000. But that's the value of the $45,000 is the value of the house. What if you're a lender, their minimum requirement is a $50,000 loan? Even though you have the property, you didn't leverage any of your cash. You can't pull equity out because the value is really 45. You get the cash flow, which is great, but you don't have the leverage. So I'm going to use an example of I have a lender, and their lending requirements, it's a minimum of $70,000, and that's the loan amount. So the LTV is 70%. So your ARV has to be at least $100,000 after it's all finished. So if you buy the house for $50,000 and then you put $25,000 into it, you're all in it for $75,000, right? But then when you want to get a loan, they're going to appraise the property, and you got to make sure that it hits an ARV of 100. So one of the filters that I like to use is the price filter. So let's do this. So here's another filter. There's so many filters here. Let's start from the top down. You got price filter, minimum to maximum, bedrooms, property type. You got houses, multifamilies, condos, land. You could look at the for sales. You could look at the solds, square footage, year built, things like that. Usually I stop it right there. So what I like to do is if I'm doing, I'll buy a 2-bedroom house. I'm trying to buy a 2-bedroom house right now, but for the most part, I like 3 bedrooms. So what I do is you could put a minimum here, and what it's going to do, it's going to knock out all the 2 bedrooms. See, there's a few that got knocked out. Then you could do 4 above, maybe nothing more than 5, I guess. That knocks a couple more out. Then I only want a house. I don't want multifamily. So that knocks a couple more out. Now, if I know, this is where you could kind of play around with the numbers, with the filters, and you could really start to understand the zip code, what's selling, the prices that they're selling at. So if I hit minimum 50,000, you see a big chunk gone here, gone here. Matter of fact, what you could start to see is in a certain zip code where the values really are. So let's hit 75, like where the hot areas are. Okay, so this is 48224, and this highway right here, the Edsel Ford Highway, that's I-94, a minimum of 75,000. What does that tell you about this side? There's only one house that sold at 75,000. So what's that saying about when people say, "Oh, I want to buy 48224"? Remember, you're buying zip code by zip code, block by block, street by street. So obviously on this side, there's one comparable at 75. So you probably want to be cautious of trying to do the BRRRR method here. So let's do this. Let's do 100,000. You see that? And look at this cluster. Notice this cluster here too. It's not out here in these outskirts. Not on here on these outskirts. So the pricing filter is really helpful. So let's just take it off and just see how it all pops up. It looks like it's a pretty active market, and it is. Because the cool thing is a lot of these are cash sales. So what they're doing is they're buying it cash and they're rehabbing it. And what we could do is we could zoom in. Now, one thing I do like to point out here too, again, with 48224, two of the neighborhoods, there's East English Village and there's Morningside. So East English Village is over this side. And if you see right here, this is Outer Drive. This is a dividing street that goes right down the middle. So, matter of fact, I think I could actually type in East English. Let's see. Does it work? Sweet. There you go. See that chunk right there? And I think I could type in Morningside. There you go. That's pretty cool. So Outer Drive is the dividing line between Morningside and East English Village. Now, Morningside it's not as developed as East English Village because there's a lot of comps in East English Village. However, look at these comps that are coming up here. Matter of fact, what I'll do is, so this is in the last 3 months. What sold in the last month? These two sold in the last month. And that's a really good sign because I know for sure Morningside, there were houses that were selling for $125,000. This is February 2020. And last spring, there were houses selling for $124,000 in the summertime. And then when fall and winter came around, the comparables dropped off the map. There was no houses selling for over, I think, like $85,000, $90,000. So two comparables like this in Morningside are very, very helpful. And then what you can do is you can click apply. And actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do more. Let's get rid of East English and focus solely on Morningside. Get rid of 48224. So here are the two comparables. So this is one on 3 Mile Drive, and this is one on Devonshire. But look at this one on Devonshire. That is like a castle, man. That's beautiful. Look at that. That's sweet. So obviously the 177. I'm price per square foot. So when you do, what happens is when you click on the listing here, you're gonna see the address over here. You can see the Redfin estimate. Redfin estimate is so funny because like here's the sold price, and to me Redfin estimate is like, oh yeah, it's 175. That's what we said. And then like they changed their number to whatever the sold price is, and I was like, I bet you they didn't say it was gonna be 175. Well, it was a 4-bedroom, 1 bath. Oh wow, I'm shocked that they didn't put an extra bathroom in there. And 22,219 square feet. Now remember, what I said was, let's do 411 Devonshire, Detroit. I use Zillow too because one thing about Zillow that I like and that I don't like about Redfin, obviously the square footage thing is wrong, but in the Detroit market, this doesn't really, they don't do it for other markets, but once a house is sold, they don't show you the pictures of what it looks like when it's sold. Like, they don't show the listing pictures. Man, this house is humongous. Look at that thing. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Updated property. Freshly painted basement. Updated electrical. Doesn't say like it was a complete reno either. I don't see complete renovation in here. I just see fresh paint. Looks like they just might have cleaned it up. Let's see this one. This one's sweet. So this is 3, 1.5. And then what you can do is you click down here and you can start reading this. Now this is really important. See right here, completely renovated. This is a true comparable. Another thing too is you could do property history. So you could see, you click down here, you could see when they listed it. So they listed it in November. Oh wow, they sold it over. They got highest and best. That's pretty cool. Good for them. So November, it went pending 4 days later. Oh, got relisted. Then pending again. Then it finally sold. So end of December, beginning of February. So maybe like 30, 45 days. It might have been FHA, but it sold at 149. Nice. That was quick. That sold really quick actually. Good for them. Let's see this Devonshire property. Yeah, see, there's no pictures here, but the square footage does make sense. So I mean, it does make sense. It does match up. So this one is $80 a square foot for Devonshire, and this is $93 a square foot. But remember, this Devonshire one wasn't rehabbed. It looks like it looks to me like it was just like nicely redone. But this one is not at $93 a square foot. That was like a complete reno. So that's it. Let's do one more. I'm going to show you one of my favorite zip codes that oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go to a zip code that doesn't have anything. Let's do 48234. I actually like 48234 a lot. I like it a lot. However, let's do reset. The only reason was 48234, it's not one of the hot zip codes, but it's like a good rental area. And as you can see, this is 8 Mile here, and this is Woodward. Dividing line right here. So let's scroll out a little bit. Right, so it's right down the street from Ferndale, right down the street from Royal Oak. It's also close to like a lot of shopping. There's like a Meijer in this little section right. No, it's not a section right here. This section right here. There's like a Meijer here, and there's a whole bunch of shops and restaurants and things. And along 8 Mile, they're really starting to develop it nicely. They got there's like a plaza over here where somebody like repaved the whole plaza. There's a lot of activity. A lot of the values here are starting to steadily climb. But one thing I wanted to know is let's do this. Let's run the filters. So here's 48234. And I personally like this area more. I'm not very familiar with this area. So I like 3 bedrooms. So 3 bedrooms. That knocks out some. Houses only. That knocks out some. Solds. Get rid of for sale. Now look at that. Look at the difference between the listed. Like how many are listed and how many have sold. So you kind of could tell that there's a lot of inventory right now in that area. And let's say square footage minimum, let's say 1,000. Okay. But let's do this. Minimum price is 50. Now you're really starting to get to the numbers of like the values of the houses. And I'll do sold, price, and lowest to best, lowest to highest. So this one sold. And these ones, I don't know why these are blacked out. I can't answer that. I don't know why they're blacked out. And I don't even think this is real. But click on them and just read and see. Oh, see, even it's sold as a bundle. Sold as a bundle, highest and best. Well, that is my video on how to check out the values in Detroit for free and how to use Redfin. And here's another thing. There's nothing wrong with using Zillow. There's nothing wrong with Trulia. This is what I'm used to, and this is what I know. And I hope that this video was helpful to you. And if you have any comments below, I'm really trying to get my subscribers up. I have just passed the 200 subscriber mark. My goal is to have 1,000 subscribers this year. So if you like this video, please share this video, like and comment below. It does really make a difference in YouTube's eyes. When it comes to Detroit real estate investing, I'm pretty much like at the bottom of the pile. But whenever I talk to people, YouTubers, they'll sign up to my buyers list. I call people just to especially if I find out they're from YouTube, because I have a lot of people signing up to my list. But if they're like, where did you come from, and where's the source, and when it's clicked YouTube, I usually call those people just to say thanks for watching. But that's pretty much it. find me on social media, my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Sign up to the buyers list. If you have any questions, let me know. And I appreciate your time. And this is Emilio, and I'm out.